Stasera, niña mia, io sono montato, te lo dirò, te lo dirò. Con la concetto io fu cosa si fuggi, ti lascio star. E non ti corri appresso, non ti struggi, a riguardar, a riguardar. Yamo, una coppa, yamo, una coppa, yamo, finiculi, finicula, finiculi, finicula. Una coppa, yamo, finiculi, finicula.
Ciao, sono Letizia. Hi, my name is Letitia, and I am here to entertain you with the Italian language. We were going to discuss the cultures and the Italian idiosyncrasies. The music you just heard is Finicoli, Funicola, and it's sung by myself and Michael Gallagher, who is the organist at St. Paul's Church here in Manchester, Vermont. Italy is the land of music, opera really, and food. We all know about Italian food and pasta, art, Michelangelo, Da Vinci, and love as well, amore, amore. What I plan to do during these episodes is to teach you a little bit of grammar. Today we're going to talk about the male and female endings. O is male, A is female, and il, which is the in English, il and la, il male, la female, un male, una female. Now, Italian is a fun language to learn. It's very musical. It has a wonderful cadence. It's on the breath. And I don't know if you know what I mean by on the breath, but singers, when they sing, they're on the breath. For instance, I was singing Finicoli, Funicola, and I went, Giammo, ya, yammo, yam, yammo, yammo, na coppa, yammo, ya. See, it's on the breath. I'm speaking on the breath. I'm not in my throat. As sometimes when you're in Italy and you encounter an American and you ask them a few questions, they'll be, buongiorno, my name is John, buongiorno. It's all in the throat. So you have to avoid that. As Shakespeare said, speak trippantly on the tongue. It is also a language that is has some difficulties for the American and for the English-speaking person, because every noun has a gender. Animals, for instance, I noticed that here in the United States, when people refer to an animal, it's always he. But in Italian, every animal has a gender, regardless of its real gender. Like la balena, the whale, is la balena. And if you want to designate that it's a male whale, you say la balena maschio. La mosca, la zanzara, names you really don't need to learn because mosca is fly and zanzara is mosquito. But you have il leone and of course la leonessa, the female lion. There are female words that are strictly female, like la vittima is victim. And it's always female. So even if the guy is the victim, you would say la vittima John. Guida, persona, gente are all female. And you have masculine words, of course. For instance, il fiore is masculine, but you notice it ends with an E. So the E is confusing to people because it's not a giveaway. You don't know which gender it is. Il fiore, il mare, il pane, bread, il pane are all masculine. But il programma, it's il, but programma ends with an A, which is usually female, so it is an exception to the rule. Also, I have to tell you that Italians are very food-oriented. So the word table, dining room table, is la tavola. So when everyone has to eat dinner, they say, venite a tavola, a tavola. But il tavolo is a board or shelf of the kind. So la tavola. Now that you've learned these few words now, when you hear a show, and you hear the singers or the performers, you must say brava if it's female, bravo if it's male, bravi everyone, brave if it's only female. And as well, when you go to a luncheonette and you want to order a sandwich, you should say un panino, not panini, because panini is plural. The different meals of the day, la colazione, il pranzo and la cena. Il pranzo is lunch, but it's the main meal of the day in Italy. It used to be, at least when I lived there, that everything closed at noon or 1 o'clock and everyone went home to dinner to have a big meal and then take a little nap in the afternoon as well, and then go back to work. And la cena, which is supper, is a lighter meal, usually a soup. And that could be as late as 10 o'clock, which is very unusual for Americans. So they have to adapt when they're in Italy. And so we know now that il and la is the, and uno, una is a. Un libro e una cartolina. Italy has 20 regions, meaning 20 dialects as well. They're all different all over. The Florentine dialect, which was chosen as the official language of Italy, drops the H. So, for instance, la casa would be la casa. The Sicilian dialect is sounds very unusual because Sicily was occupied by everyone. So it's a little bit of French, a little bit of Arabic, and very, very different words. Idu would be he, ida, idu, and very idiomatic as well. What happened in their history became part of the language. Now, Italy became unified March 17th, 1861, and Giuseppe Garibaldi unified Italy because at one point it was, all these different counties, 20 counties. And of course, they sought to use the one language to unify the country that as well. And it wasn't until Benito Mussolini, he tried to unite the country so people would be friendly with each other, united emotionally. And he insisted that all the people spoke to each other in what we call del voi, which is a second person singular. Italian has formal and informal. I'll go into that at a later lesson, but the formal was not used during that period. So if you were a person asking a question in a little village, the person would speak to you as if there's a multitude behind you. Still today in Italy, in the small villages, people will use del voi when they're speaking to you, a lot of the paisanis. I just wanted to tell you as well that ciao is a word you use for people you know, not to a person you do not know, not a stranger. You say buongiorno, or buonasera, or buonanotte. Buongiorno you say up until 3 o'clock. Buonasera from 3 o'clock to, until time to go to bed. And then when it's time to go to bed, you say buonanotte. And also we have grazie, which is 3 syllables. Grazie, not grazie, and not grazia, because that's a female name. And we have as well prego. You're welcome. Permesso, may I? And the Italians are very well-mannered, and they're very respectful, very respectful. We have a lot of similar words in English as we have in Italian. There is concerto, which is concert, but I'm saying concerto. Comunità, lo stomaco, stomach. So if you don't know the language and you hear a word or two, it's very, very similar. However, the word parenti, you probably would think it means parents, but it isn't. It's relatives. And parents are genitori. So bookstore is libreria. Library is la biblioteca. It's a big, big difference in that. Now let's talk about mnemonics. How are you going to go about learning a language with you've never heard before? Mnemonics is a way of, when you hear a new word, like the word giallo, which means yellow, you have to envision a sunflower that's brilliant and giallo. You have to feel it. And every time you use a word, envision what you feel it might reflect. It's very, very personal. Thank you. Ciao.
Stasera, niña mia, io sono montato, te lo dirò, te lo dirò. Con là dove rispetti un cuore grato, più fare un cuore. Con là, concetto io fu, cosa si fuggi, ti lascia star e non ti corri appresso, non ti struggi a riguardar, l'amo crocette la Spagna, io becco a te, io becco a te. Tirate con il fulminetto fatto, il cielo sarà, il cielo se va. Se va come lo viento allo stratto, che sa. Llamo una coppa, llamo, una coppa, llamo, Funiculi, fenicula, una coppa, llamo,